Hi everyone, it's Liam and Alex here from US Sports Scholarships to talk all about swimming and diving scholarship opportunities in America. Appreciate for those of you listening will be at very different stages of this process. So what I would say is this is very high level and also just great to hear from Alex with her specific experiences of being a D1 swimmer while in America. Before we get into the intro with Alex, hopefully everyone can see everything with the slides that we've got here. Obviously, ussportsscholarships.com is the website. If after today you think that this could be a route that might be of interest to you, please go on the website, apply. Takes a couple of minutes to fill out. It will then get passed on to Alex and the swimming team. One thing we'll always do is give you honest and transparent feedback on where we see you at, but also, most importantly for a lot of you, the potential and potential benchmarks that you need to get at. One thing with swimming and diving, it's definitely less subjective than team sports. So, you can't hide from the times and the PBs. So, but yeah, that's what we're going to be exploring. And also feel free to check out our social channels. So that being said, I will be quiet there for a second. And yeah, Alex, it would be great just to hear about your amazing college career and also your role within the business now and how we're looking to help the next generation.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you. Yes, hello, I'm Alex Reddington. I swam at the University of Wisconsin in Madison from 2017 to 2021. In my time there, I got my degree in economics, and I was lucky enough to captain the team my senior year. Um, Before university in 2016, I was fortunate enough to swim at the British Olympic Trials. I do hold a British passport, although the accent can be a bit confusing. And I did qualify as well in 2020, but obviously COVID got in the way of that one. At university, I swam at the Big Ten Championships and finaled all 4 years, and I was able to qualify for honors in those years. And yeah, Colorado Swim of the Year in 2017. My time there was it was incredible. It's years I look back on quite fondly. To be able to train in a team filled with people where, there's a common goal, you're all working hard, and there's so much more to just the swimming and the diving, the friendships that come out of it, the education, the support, the weightlifting, training, nutritionists, everything. There's so much on offer from the universities in the States. And yeah, after my swimming career, I moved back to the UK where I currently live in London. And yeah, this job it was something I've always wanted to do, getting back into the sports world, but I've I only knew one Brit who swam in the US, and I just feel that there's such an opportunity there's so many spots in the States for swimmers in this country to go swim and continue on in their career. Because I think it can get cut a little bit shorter here in the UK, and the US gives you the option to just keep swimming, which is always the goal. So yeah, I think I'll leave that bit there.
No, that's brilliant. Thanks, Alex. So if we, I'll give you a bit of a grill in here because I'm intrigued as well with your story. And I know we've talked about it in the past, but if we rewind all the way back, I guess, how does a young swimmer end up with offers and scholarships from a school like a University of Wisconsin, or I know that you had other options with UCLA, etc. Like, how do you get to there? And I guess what I'm trying to get at for international listeners is how early are you thinking about college as an American, even though you're not an American, but you know what I'm trying to get at here. For someone who's
Yeah.
come through the US educational system, at what point do you start thinking, I'm taking this seriously, I'm thinking about colleges?
I think for me, it was around the ages anywhere from, I'm going to say 13 to 16. So it's quite broad, but I think it depends on where you are in your swimming career. Some of my friends were swimming Olympic trial level times at 13. Some didn't get to that point till they were 16, 17. But definitely around that 15 to 16 is when it's time to start taking it a little bit more seriously. If it is a goal that you have, then it's time to start, pushing for those faster times. Because I think by the time you get to 17, 18, not that you'd be behind, but you've got 16-year-olds who are thinking about this process and you want to make sure that um yeah, your name's on coaches' minds.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Obviously, you could take a gap year as well, but
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see that as common with Americans as you would maybe with internationals. So yeah, that's a really good point, and hopefully, for those that are listening, kind of brings it home that if this is an option for you, there's clear benefits to starting earlier rather than later, just because the US aren't bad at swimming, and therefore you really want to put yourself on a level playing field in terms of that. Going back to the recruitment as well, real quickly, when you were speaking to these initial coaches, did they say to you at a young age, like how, like at what age? Obviously, you've got the rule where they can't be contacting you until
Mhm.
your sophomore year anyway. But are they coming in and saying, Alex, look, we want to offer you, or are they saying we want to see you get these times over the next months, or how did that work for you specifically?
I had a bit of both, to be fair. I think it depends on the level of the school. There were some dream schools that I had that I was sending emails to anyway, and they were coming back saying, your times are good, but we need them faster. I had some schools that were saying we can offer you money right now. I think it depends on the level of the university that you're looking for. And it just depends on what those coaches need out of a swimmer. I think it also goes to what events you sort of specialize in. Some schools, where I went to university, we did not need any more backstrokers. We had some of the best backstrokers in the country, but we were, some of those other races, they were slacking. So they were looking for butterflyers and breaststrokers to fill those spots on the competition rosters. Every team and every coach is a little bit different. I think it just depends on, yeah, the level of the university and what they're
Yeah.
looking for.
Sure, no problem. And then, so in terms of how far in advance of you starting at Wisconsin did you actually commit? Can you remember?
I committed in October of my senior year of high school, so almost
Okay.
one full year before I went to Wisconsin.
Okay, cool. Brilliant. And then what would you say was the highlight from a swimming perspective of your college career?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my senior year Big Tens, my
Okay.
last, yeah, Big Tens, my senior year, because I mean it was a COVID year, but we didn't know if we were going to get the conference meet,
Yeah.
and they managed to pull it off, and it was my birthday there as well. So I swam my last best race on my birthday, which was kind of cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, I got to a final at that meet, and it was kind of a nice full circle moment. I was surrounded with all my teammates and girlfriends, and yeah, it was great. That was a
Brilliant.
highlight.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, obviously you've had an amazing college career. And yeah, I think for anyone listening, the key thing with swimming, as everyone knows, everyone's got an incredible work ethic and everyone's trying to improve their times constantly. So it's definitely no luck that goes into people getting scholarships at top universities. But I swear, having done this for over 15 years, it seems to get more and more competitive every single year.
Yeah.
And look, without offending you or your family, I'd say that Americans definitely say they're the best at a lot of things, but when it comes to college sports,
Yeah.
I think we can give them that one.
I'd agree. I'd agree. It's the one thing I do think the US excels at, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'd just be the only thing.
yeah, we'll give them that one. So, I mean, this was here, obviously, when we do deliver it in person, we've got day in the life videos that can be helpful. So yeah, feel free to look online, whether they're ours or other people that have uploaded content, because I think for a lot of internationals, it's just the unknown of what does a typical day look like as a student athlete. Obviously, for our American listeners, you're probably pretty well versed because you'd know family members or other people within the swimming community that you can speak to. Obviously, it's a little bit different as an international. Um, Obviously, we'll both talk through this, but for me, having like grown up in the UK, like with America, I definitely probably didn't realize just how big a place it is. And my first experience of going to America was actually moving there, so that was quite of a unique one, but also pretty common for most overseas student athletes. Obviously, with a lot of them, you can do official visits in advance as well. Obviously, easier for you, Alex, being based in America. Was that something that you did quite a lot of when you were getting close to your decision?
I did, yeah. I did 4 trips to
Okay.
different schools and then a few unofficial tours.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, what's kind of mad is probably three-quarters of our athletes that commit to American colleges don't actually ever see them in person. Probably more unbelievable based when I went out 20 years ago, but when there was barely the internet, so it was a bit of risk there. But nowadays, obviously, especially since COVID, everyone's got incredible campus videos and Google Maps, and you can literally explore the whole area, which makes it a lot easier. If you look at from an overseas perspective, like pretty much all athletes are paying significantly less for university going to American colleges because of scholarship opportunities. Appreciate in certain countries, for example, Scotland, you can get free further education anyway. But look, if you're a talented student athlete, what an incredible reward to get scholarship to compete for those schools. A lot of people that are listening, obviously the academia is just as important. It definitely is for us as well. You're a student athlete and the student part comes first for a reason. Also, a little flex from us is that the average GPA of our team is a 3.8, which I think hopefully for parents that are listening does definitely stress that we're here to get degrees. If you end up being, Phelps and winning loads of gold medals at the Olympics, that's just an added bonus as well. But yeah, academic wise, like for example, the school you're at is a phenomenal school, right? That you're at, Alex, to get a degree. I'm sure that was a key part in your decision making as well as the swimming.
Mhm.
Yeah. Whereas for me, it probably wasn't that thorough. But again, I mean, for me, it was probably mainly about the sports side of things. But look, I ended up graduating with a 4.0, so clearly my priorities did change once I got out there. But we've talked about it already, like college sports are the closest thing to professional sports. So I guess Alex, going back to when you were saying about the Big Ten events, what was that like competing there? Or like the crowds or the build up or the actual experience?
It's incredible. It's hard to kind of explain the feeling, but with a sport like swimming and diving, for the most part, growing up, the only people in the stands are your parents, maybe some family friends, and then your teammates' parents. And then you get to these Big Ten competitions and, events like NCAA where people are flying over the country to come watch you swim and see your team swim. And to hear that, you hear the crowd when you're racing, and it's an entirely different experience in the water, but it is incredible. You kind of feel like what I would imagine, Premier League football players feel like, but
Yeah.
you're swimming.
Yeah, yeah. Any PBs hit for you or close to in that environment or?
Oh yeah, I always went PBs at those
Oh,
meets. I
yeah.
like to swim for a crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Born entertainer. I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, there's nothing quite like it. And I think without being too cliche or cheesy, like a bit like Disney tagline, but I feel like college sports like is magic. You can't really explain it. And I think unless you've been through college sport and experience, like you kind of never understand what it's like. But look, that's just my experience of that. And look, financially you, Alex, and me, we've both come out completely debt free. So that is also a great bonus. It's like what I get to compete at the sport I love every day. You're going to make me better and you're going to pay for my degree. It's a pretty good gig. It's a pretty good gig. So talking of the college sports, obviously with the schools you were at, obviously being an elite level swimmer, NCAA Division One, I guess the point of this slide is just to kind of highlight to people that there are various different options. Everyone's on a different journey. Everyone's got different academics. Also, everyone has different ability levels. And for some people, they might actually not take swimming seriously until a later age or they sustain an injury. So I guess, and welcome your thoughts on this. For me, it's always the journey is about where you finish and not where you start. So, for example,
Yeah.
someone could swim at a junior college and end up being your teammate at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Did you have much of that at your school in terms of people transferring in or transferring out? Was there movement with that as well?
We did. We had quite a few transfers throughout the years. Shockingly, one of my favorite teammates, she moved from USC, which is in sunny California, to Madison, Wisconsin, because she liked the team more. And for me, that was, she went from swimming in the sunshine to the Arctic. Couldn't quite wrap my head around that one, but yeah, there is the option to move. I had a teammate myself who went to a junior college for 2 years, and he then went to D1 for his last 2 years. So there's definitely the option to move. And, I think with swimming and diving, it is kind of an individual sport, so it's a little bit easier. But yeah, the
Yeah,
option's
no,
definitely
that makes sense. And like with your friend, it doesn't, his degree came from that D1. It didn't say
Yep.
brackets. He did 2 years elsewhere. So
Yep.
financially, it can make a lot of sense as well. But yeah, I do appreciate that for overseas internationals, looking at this slide, you might be like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. Obviously, this is generic to all sports, but you've got different divisions and governing bodies. I guess the key message is it's just about finding that one school that feels right for you. So a bit like your former teammate, she just felt right in Wisconsin. Sometimes you just can't quantify it totally. You got to follow your feelings. But obviously, we're here in our swim and dive team to use our expertise and our knowledge and experience of placing athletes at these colleges to then help guide you towards options that we think could be a good fit. Albeit you are the one that's going to be there, not us. So that's what we're here to provide the guidance for. Now moving on to this slide, there's been a lot of change in the NCAA. Some forced by legal lawsuits, and some maybe by their own decision making. But yeah, I didn't know, Alex, if you can just give us a real high level overview, concise look at how scholarships and rosters have changed as of this year with specifically NCAA Division One schools.
Yeah, so as of this year, NCAA is now offering 30 full ride scholarships to their swim and dive teams. In the past, the teams have been quite a bit larger, and they divvied out the scholarships a little bit more. So roster sizes have decreased ever so slightly, but now swimmers have the ability to get a full ride scholarship to swim for 4 years, which I'm kind of jealous about. I think it's a great system now. In terms of this slide, there are a lot of schools to pick from. There's a few more women's programs than men's, just because some schools have only women's swim teams. But like you've got 200 women's schools in D1, 98 D2, and the roster sizes, yeah, they've been numbered a little bit, but they're still, 30 times 200. That's a lot of spots.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And then the only thing I wanted to touch on with relation to this is obviously there's quite a distinct difference in the volume of divers to swimmers.
Mhm.
And like, I'd just be interested to know from your experience. I think you might have lived with a diver
I did.
while you're out there. So for those that are listening that are divers, they might be like, well, how does that work for me? So I don't know if you could give some insights on that as well.
Yeah, so I believe in my time there, a diver counts as half of a person, which sounds a little bit controversial, but I think for every two divers is the spot of one swimmer. So we had, I think in total, six female divers. I know we had more than that. 10 female divers. But that only accounts for 5 spots and then 25 swimmers. So there's a little bit more room. But I've said, to divers, swim teams need divers to score points. They are an asset to the team. They're needed. They're very valued. So although you're only half a person, you're a very valued half a person. But yeah.
Okay, cool. No, that's great. Moving on from that, I don't want to spend too much time on entrance exams. The only thing I'd say to those listening is, particularly overseas, we do come across that people seem to be like, the SAT exam is so important. What I would say is pre-COVID, it definitely was because you had to pass it to be eligible to compete at four-year universities. Now, because of COVID, it wasn't a good idea to get a load of strangers in a room to sit an entrance exam. So they did make it optional. Now, some schools, in particular, some Ivy League schools, have reinstated it as a requirement, but kind of makes sense if everyone's got a 4.0 that's applying. You need some level of differentiation. That can be being an athlete. But on the whole, majority still don't require it at the time of this recording, albeit people do make money out of the entrance exam. So therefore will not surprise me if that does get reinstated by the time you're watching this potentially. And just because it isn't required, it doesn't mean that certain schools can't reward you with academic scholarship if you do score particularly well. How was your experience studying for the SAT, and did you take it more than once?
I, my age, it was only the ACT.
Okay.
Yes, I took it 4 times
Wow.
because
Okay.
I was told, yeah, if I got a certain score, I would get extra scholarship money. So I sat through the exam 4 times
Wow. Do you
to
want
try
to
and get
disclose
it.
what you ended up at?
No, because I
Okay.
didn't get it.
Oh, okay.
A
Okay.
decent score. I was above average. I got
That's
a 27, but
Okay. Well, look, as I
Yeah.
said, I can't think that I think I might have got something like 1,000. Like, I mean, I didn't revise for it. I didn't understand the significance of it. And yeah, look, it worked out fine once I got to
Yeah.
school. But again, we've got practice exams that we can provide you with. We've got helpful videos. We've got partners that can give tuition, but definitely don't worry about it. And definitely worry about it less than pre-COVID days. But yeah, we can always provide more information on that. In terms of us, I guess I'll kind of, if you've ended up at this video, I'd like to think you probably know a little bit about us anyway. You might have been on the website or one of our social media channels. We've been doing this a long while now. We have placed over 3,000 athletes at over 800 different schools. So, very experienced. Obviously, I went out on a soccer scholarship and Alex obviously on a swimming. So within each of our sports, we've got somebody who has actually done that specifically for that sport, which I think is really key. Connected in the sense that we do work with every single scholarship given university in America. As I said, we have placed at majority of them. Those that we haven't, a lot of the time, it just might not be geared towards having international athletes. Maybe it doesn't work out scholarship wise for that. For example, the school I went to, half of my tuition was covered just because I was an international student. So no surprises that there was more internationals there than actual American students because that's a pretty good gig. And then, yeah, we'd like to think we're trusted and respected because we've done it such a long while. But the key thing for us is we do get over 20,000 applications a year, but we only work with 50 athletes per sport per year. And again, don't want to give everyone too much of a sales pitch on that one. But the key thing for us when we founded this was we used four different companies that were very high volume and felt that we made every mistake along the way. And as I said, not cry me a river. I lived in Chicago for 4 years and came out debt free. But for me, it wasn't a great fit overall from an academic and a sport perspective. And also, after a couple of years, I would have liked to transferred, and I just got ignored. Now it's a very different model right now because there is transfer portals and it is a lot. It's very free for people to move schools, which is great. We can support with that. Whereas when I was in America, it wasn't really a thing as much. It's a bit more like, for example, for those who listen at the UK, if you went to a school, you're probably not going to transfer. You're going to go there for 3 years and complete that degree. Um, Moving on from that, I guess I've touched on this a little bit already. Feel free to check out our website. Hopefully, you may well already know of some athletes who've placed as well. But yeah, look, I think it's just important to work with a company that you feel supported by and that you feel valued by. I definitely felt like a cog in the system. Obviously, a little bit different for you, Alex, because you didn't use an agent. But then I'm guessing as an American, that isn't really, I know there are online platforms, but outside of that, it is kind of your responsibility to reach out to schools, but also you're kind of on the radar of a lot of schools as well.
It is. I will say it would have been nice to have the support though, because I mean, it was my parents and I tried to figure it out by ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, we were just shooting darts in the dark. So
Yeah.
yeah, having the support definitely would have been nice.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Or even like I got the support, but it was the wrong support. But
Yeah.
look, and if you're listening, I definitely don't want people to think, oh, well, I'm American. Like, does that mean you're not gonna, potentially work with us or support us? Yeah, 100%. Like we're here to work with American athletes and worldwide athletes. It's about needing that support. And whether you're an elite level swimmer and you can't decide between all of these schools, or whether you're somebody who's got a lot of potential to develop and you need to get into the system to prove yourself, that's what we're here to help you achieve. I guess the point of this slide, obviously reinforcing the volume of athletes that we have sent, but also to stress that the frustrating but exciting part of this process is you kind of don't know where you're going to end up until you start the process. So for Alex, for example, for you saying that you didn't need any more backstrokers, like if you want to go to that school and they've already got in your event loads of talented athletes, it's probably not going to happen because they haven't got scholarship to put towards it. So look, everyone might have individual preferences. For example, I'm sure a lot of people, without offending anyone, would rather be in Cali and Florida than Alaska. But on the whole, you might have friends and family in a specific region, or you might have, good experience with a particular coach at a certain school. So we're going to factor that in. But I guess you just don't know where you're going to end up. Did you like Wisconsin? Were they like high up in your mind from day one, or?
They weren't on my radar until a month before I committed. So I
Oh,
had all
wow.
these other schools that I was speaking to.
Yeah,
I was also gonna go the sunny route to California, and then yeah, Wisconsin was one of the last that reached out back to me and was I will always say everyone always ends up, I think, where they're supposed to be. Uh,
agreed.
yeah, because Wisconsin was the right fit for me. I just had to be patient.
No, sounds good. We've got a Trustpilot page, online reviews. Feel free to check that out. Kind of stressed this already, like that we've got different people heading up different sports, which I think is the right way and how it should be. As I said, like I'm sure I have placed swimmers way back when, but definitely would feel more comfortable placing soccer athletes, and the same Alex would feel more comfortable placing swimmers. We work across a variety of sports, so therefore have like various partners across various sports throughout the world as well. We have various packages. Again, I don't want to use up too much of this seminar time going into granular detail, but if you're listening and you're like Alexa when she started the process early, like 15, 16, then the ideal package might actually be this not this one, sorry, moving forward is the academy athlete, where prior to you being legally able to get contacted by a college coach in your sophomore year, or if you're, for example, in the UK, like 2 years prior to you heading out in the June, the academy package. And then when we talk about when we work with 50 athletes or 50 swimmers and divers a year, the Premier athlete, the packages are actually identical until that point, because all the things that come with this Premier package. So Alex representing you, reaching out to schools, having your profile on the coach's website would be regardless, but helping with offers, admissions, eligibility centers, health insurance, visas, flights. None of that can happen until you can actually start being communicated to by coaches and have offers. So going back to that, that's why this can be a really good start to the process, because to Alex's point early on is you can start to get shortlisted and be in the discussion with coaches when they are getting close to the point of wanting to make scholarship offers. So yeah, this can be a really good place. Now, if you're listening and you're 17, 18 or in a gap year, then maybe this isn't the best package for you, because ultimately with this one, as I said, you've got access to all the same resources and to Alex and the team. However, a key difference is the recruitment side of things is actually your responsibility. So when a coach rings up Alex or the team and says, I'm looking for a fly for 2027 that has this GPA, she's only going to be talking about the 50 Premier athletes that we've got. Now, we can help guide you as an academy athlete. So they're kind of the key differences. Now, with the academy athlete, anyone can sign up. You can sign up today. Obviously, say, for example, you're in a gap year or 18 or 19, we'd probably advise and go, actually, this probably isn't the right package for you. And the good thing is if you start as an academy athlete and you've been offered a place on the Premier athlete, you could then upgrade at a later date. So kind of mad to think, but you could start the process here at 15, upgrade here at 16, go out at 17 or 18. We support you for the 4 years until you're 22, and then obviously support you with post graduation, whether that's going into a master's degree or moving back to your home country. So we could arguably be with you on this journey from 15 to 20s plus, right? So that's kind of the key differences between those. Did that make sense, Alex? Did I explain that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you say that you knew this swimmer here as well?
Yeah, yeah. Well, all the images of the swimmers in this presentation are all of my past teammates. So that was my teammate Delaney. We grew up swimming together. She went to UCLA. She was a breaststroke backstroker.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she had an incredible 4 years at that school, and she had a much nicer tan than I did at the end of our 4 years. Because yeah, she swam in the sunshine for 4 years. But
Yeah,
yeah, they're my teammates.
I can imagine. Okay, so we talked about that. I mean, regardless of what package you're on, you get access to our online portal where there's like a process timeline of everything you'd need to get done between now and when you go out to America. Cool things that are on there, which I definitely would have liked when I went out, was like this university database where you can, I want to look at schools in Wisconsin that are D1 or D2 for swimming, and it'll bring up all the profiles. You can watch the videos, you can learn more about the school. We understand there's something called Google, but I think it's kind of cool to have it all in one place. And yeah, this definitely would have been really helpful for me. Outside of that, as I said, this is more like what it looks like when you're logged in. But if I wanted to learn more about entrance exams, for example, there's helpful videos, practice exams, everything you need, strength and conditioning programs, nutrition programs. So as a future student athlete, what would have to do, Alex, as well, which I haven't got in there as well, is probably like a typical training practice week as a D1 swimmer. I think that would be pretty good to get on there. So by the time you listen to this, it will be on there. But I think that would be helpful as well. In terms of what coaches can see, they'd log into this athlete database. So again, I could say I'm looking for, well, I mean, in this example, a female track and field athlete that has this GPA looking to come out 2026. Amelia actually quite interesting. So she went out to a Division 2 program, done really well, and now we've transferred her to a Division 1 program. So again, reinforcing that the world's your oyster, and if you prove yourself, then you'll get the rewards for it as well, albeit you always need a little bit of luck along the way as well. I'm sure this all sounds amazing. You can live the dream like Alex and be on a full ride at a D1 and get to play and compete, sorry, at Big Ten events. But also reinforcing the fact that unfortunately we can't guarantee which schools are going to make offers. Alex, I'm sure when you were getting offers, sometimes it wouldn't make sense because you'd think like, well, you don't want me, but actually you're probably not as good as another school, or there's often not that much logic to it, but also they've got different scholarship available to them. But again, hopefully what you get from today is through our experience and our knowledge and our network, we can guarantee we'll give you the best possible opportunity to get the best scholarships at the right school for your abilities. But there's always a but. There's always loads down to you as a student athlete, right? So, for example, if Alex was not reliable and a bit of a problem child, and I keep organizing calls with coaches for her, and she's late, and then she doesn't message the coach and apologize, like, guess what? Like, you're doing yourselves out of scholarship. So I guess what I'm getting at is you are kind of like the product that they're investing in. Therefore, you still need to make a good impression. Research the school. Obviously, we can provide guidance, learn about how they've been doing in recent seasons or the coach's background. Obviously, how you do on your grades is going to impact that because you're going to qualify for a certain amount of academic scholarship, regardless of how good you are from a swimming or a diving perspective. And also, obviously, your consistency at events, how you're progressing with your PBs over time. Obviously, Alex is better placed than me to give insights on that. And then ultimately, where you want to go. So, as I said, if you look at your experience, Alex, one of your friends wanted to go UCLA, you wanted to go Wisconsin. Everyone's got that different journey. Um, but yeah, did you have anything to add on this one at all, Alex?
I don't think so. No, I think you covered it. I mean, yeah, a lot of it is not a lot of it, but it is important that the swimmer or diver wants this as well.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to be handed to you. I think I knew maybe one athlete where scholarships were handed to her and she was an Olympian. So, for the most part, there is an effort that, unless you're at the Olympics already, maybe it's a different story. But yeah, there is an effort that has to be made. But it is worth the effort in the long run.
Yeah, I always say like the key three factors that we're dealing with here is your swimming and diving ability, your academics, and your budget. As in, if you're an Olympic level athlete, you probably don't need to worry about budget and you probably need to get the minimum grades. If you're an average swimmer, maybe you need to have above average grades and maybe an above average budget. So it's kind of like they're all loosely correlated. And obviously, if you are an elite level swimmer with top grades, then happy days, right? You're making everyone's life a lot easier to get the rewards on that as well. Um, so I guess you'd be happy to know, and I appreciate that it has been pretty high level. I'd say the easiest way to think of what we do is like a sports agent, because ultimately you'll judge us based on what interest and offers that we're able to generate for you. But hopefully, what you get from today without scaring you is it can be quite a minefield. There are hundreds of different schools. If you're an international, it's quite difficult to understand the differences and learn about that, particularly if you're not visiting in person. And then outside of negotiating you the best possible scholarship, it's supporting you with eligibility centres, admissions, health insurance, visas, flights, and also supporting you for the whole 4 years while you're out there because you might need to transfer as well. So hopefully going to America and swimming out there and diving out there is still of interest, having listened to us here. If you want to find out if you're eligible, we'll always be honest and transparent about where we see you at, and we can give you benchmark times or scores, etc. for that. Go onto the website ussportsscholarships.com, fill in the application, not obligated to anything at that stage, takes a couple of minutes. Highlight video is less important when it comes to swimming, but I mean, some do intros, which can show a bit of your character, although I'd probably say video calls can help with that. But they might just want to see your technique or how you've performed against other swimmers that maybe they know of. So it's more of a win-win, really, because they'll know what your PBs and your times are anyway. What would you say, like, Alex, in terms of highlight video, the level of importance on that?
I think sometimes the times can do the talking, unless it is an incredible race where, you've come back from, being eighth and suddenly you win the race. It's a great race to watch. I
Yeah.
wouldn't make it a top priority though.
No, exactly. And obviously, look, we've got a media team here that can help create videos for you anyway. So you could take a gap year. I know that, as I said, that might not be a priority for a lot of people, but sometimes there are benefits to that. As Alex said, you're going to end up at the right school for you, and maybe that is taking a gap year. I mean, for me personally, I did, albeit not really out of choice. I hadn't been told about the entrance exam, which didn't help things. But outside of that, I was able to save up more money to help contribute towards the experience, and also probably mature a little bit and prepare mentally for the idea of moving as well. Exams we've talked about, you can study whatever you want at university. A common misconception is it has to be sports related. That isn't the case. Obviously, Alex, you did an economics degree. I did a business degree in marketing. I'd probably say sports science is actually the most popular, to contradict that. But also, we do have some athletes doing aeronautical engineering, So obviously, the more niche you go, whether it is architecture, engineering, there's going to be fewer schools that offer it. But again, we can provide specific guidance and advice on that depending on what you're looking to study. It can help to know in advance. So, say, for example, you're English and you want to study law, probably good to know that you're going to have to do an undergraduate, then law school, and it's a lot different, for example, and you're going to be studying American law, not English law. So there are definitely subtle differences. Ideal time to apply. I want to probably get rid of a year and a half because I can't stress as much, like 2 years in advance is probably a good sweet spot. The minute you start getting into a year and a half or a year, and if you haven't even started the process, I would say you are probably at a bit of a disadvantage unless you are an unbelievable elite level talent, then you can probably afford to leave it a little bit later. What determines how much scholarship? Again, hopefully what you got from today, it can really vary based on, academic grades, your abilities, entrance exams, their interest, budget, school division. There's loads of different factors. I was naive to that when I went through the process. I just thought, oh, I'm decent at my sport and I've got good grades, give me a full scholarship. Didn't understand that, thousands of other people want that scholarship as well. Other costs we can definitely talk about at a later date in greater detail with you and your family. But there's just some examples there. One thing that was quite key for me as an international with an international student visa was that I was able to work on campus. So the school I was at was like 50K a year. The scholarship was 44. The balance was 6. And then I was actually working and earning about 5 to 6 a year on campus. So that was how I was able to come out debt free. Obviously, a little bit different if you're listening, you are an American and you've got a US nationality, then obviously you can work whenever anyway around university. So just want to, I guess, thank again everyone for listening. Hopefully that's been helpful as an initial insight for us. I mean, it says tours on there. We are hopeful to do a US swimming tour. Hopefully 2026 is what we'd probably be looking at. Be cool to maybe wrap that in with Wisconsin as well, depending on the time of the year and that weather. But yeah, really appreciate everybody listening. Hopefully myself and Alex will be speaking to you soon, and hopefully there's some future college athletes listening as well. But Alex, I didn't know if you had any final thoughts or comments you wanted to add to the.
I think you've summed up everything. I mean, it's yeah, best 4 years I had of my life so far. Um, there's a great life on offer over there, I
Brilliant.
believe.
Oh yeah, thanks again everyone, and we'll speak to you soon.